Today we are going to be talking about solving quadratic equations by factoring. Mine is going to start on page 27. Before we begin to factor, let's talk about 4 steps that we need to do in every problem in order to solve our equations. Step 1 is to set the quadratic equation equal to 0. That means if there's anything on the right-hand side, we want to move everything over to the left by using the opposite operation. Step 2, we want to factor the left side of the equation. Step 3 is to set each factor equal to 0 and solve for x. And then step 4 is to write our solutions. So I have 4 examples for us to look at today. Our first example is x squared plus 4x plus 3. Step 1 is already done for us. It is already equal to 0. So we're going to start with step 2. We are going to think about the 2 factors of 3 that add up to 4. And those factors are 3 and 1. So we have x plus 3, x plus 1 is equal to 0. We are now going to do step 3, which is to set x plus 3 equal to 0 and x plus 1 equal to 0. We are going to solve for x. That means we want to do the opposite operation. So we're going to subtract 3 here from both sides. And so x is equal to a negative 3. And we are going to subtract 1 from both sides here, which makes x equal to negative 1. And then we will write our solutions using brackets. Please remember that this is not an ordered pair. This is a solution set. In number 2, we have 3x squared plus 15x equals 0. This looks a little different. It's missing the c value, which means we want to solve this one first by finding the GCF. Sometimes that will allow us to simplify our factoring from the beginning. So we want to look to see what goes into 3 and 15, and that's going to be a 3. And what goes into x squared and x, which will be an x. And we are left with an x plus 5, making that equal to 0. We are then going to take, since everything is factored, we are going to do step 3, which is to set 3x equal to 0 and x plus 5 equal to 0. We want to do the opposite operation. So here we're going to divide everything by 3. And 0 divided by any number is still 0. On x plus 5, we're going to subtract 5, which is going to leave us with x equals a negative 5. So my solution here is x is equal to 0 and x is equal to a negative 5. Our next 2 examples are going to require us to actually use step 1, which is to set the equation equal to 0 first. So as you can see in number 3, our problem has a 21 on the right-hand side. So we want to move this 21 by subtracting it on both sides. Now remember, when we subtract it, it's not from the 4x. We are now creating an equivalent equation with the 21 on the other side. Now we are going to factor. So what are my 2 factors of negative 21 that add up to a positive 4? Well, my factors of 21 are 21 and 1 or 7 and 3. And we can get a 4 by taking a positive 7 and subtracting 3 from that. So now we will take x plus 7 and set that equal to 0, and x minus 3 and set that equal to 0. We will do the opposite operation to solve each of these.
At this time, all students should be
Sorry for that announcement. So we have now solved that x is equal to -7 and that x is equal to a +3. So my solution is -7 and 3. Now on number 4, we have a little bit more work to do where we are going to subtract the 4x and the 1 from their appropriate corresponding like terms. So we want to make sure we line them up underneath their like terms. So we have an x squared, and -10 minus 4 is -14x. 49 minus 1 is a +48. And of course, it's equal to 0. So we are going to find the factors of +48 that equal a -14. Now remember that two negatives, when multiplied, are positive, but when added are still negative. So we're actually looking for two negative numbers here. So we want to think about what are the factors of 48. And the ones that come to mind for me are 8 and 6. And so we will take x minus 8, set that equal to 0, and x minus 6, and set that equal to 0. We will solve with the opposite operation, just as in all of the other examples. And so this time we have that x is equal to 8 and x is equal to 6 for our solution set. We are now going to take a look at a few examples in class that require us, again, to go through the 4 steps of setting the equation equal to 0, factoring, solving each factor for x, and then setting up our solution.